ora, good evening. Welcome to Central News for Thursday, the 6th of February, Waitangi Day. Ko Hilary Ntuasu, tōku ingoa. Two small patches of Mediterranean fanworms have been located in Coromandel Harbour, prompting a fresh warning from authorities for boaties to be vigilant against accidentally bringing marine pests into the Waikato region. The new finds of this pest followed the discovery of the fanworm on the bottom of two barges in the harbour last March. The barges had come from Auckland's Waitemata Harbour, where fanworms are already well established. The fanworms found then were removed by Waikato Regional Council and the Ministry for Primary Industries in a joint biosecurity response. Council's animal pest team leader Dave Hodges says the council was disappointed to find the pest, but it wasn't totally unexpected due to the invasive character of fanworms. The proposal to name a stretch of beach on Tauranga Harbour after local historian Dame Evelyn Stokes is facing stern opposition, with more than 25 public submissions against the idea. The New Zealand Geographic Board is open to public submissions on its proposal until February the 14th. It is the board's intentions to name the beach located on the northern shores of Otumotai, extending east from Tilby Point to the reclaimed part of Coolum Park, as Stokes Beach after the late Dame. Ngai Tamarawa Waho Kaumatoa Piri Kohu says the proposal does not sit well with him, labelling the move to change the beach's name as disrespectful. Perry questions why the board is looking to change it from Otumotai Beach, a name put forward by Māori ancestors, and Dame Evelyn Stokes herself. A Waikato farmer is at the centre of an animal abuse allegation in Chile after a video has emerged of him clubbing bobby calves to death. Zach Ward was on a dairy operation in Chile as the production manager for Manuka when the video was taken. It is legal for New Zealand farmers to use a blunt instrument in an emergency situation, however the use of a gun is encouraged. Now for our region's weather. Both our regions look very similar, long sunny fine spells with an easterly for both Hamilton and Tauranga. Hamilton, your expected high is 24 and an overnight low of 15. Tauranga, an expected high of 23 and an overnight low of 17. Just ahead, keeping safe in the water this summer. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. Summer is definitely not over yet, and most of us enjoy a wee dip to cool off, whether it is in the ocean, a river or a lake. Sadly though, we have a shockingly high drowning rate. I caught up with Water Safety New Zealand to find out ways to stay safe in the water for the rest of the summer. Corey, tell us about this Kumanu Ki Ora project.
Kumanu Ki Ora is the Māori initiative, and basically the objective of it is to reduce Māori drowning, which is overrepresented in New Zealand. So Māori stats are around 25% each year, although we have seen a reduction in year 2 of the Kumanu Ki Ora project, which is fantastic. The project has 3 key focus areas, that's swim and survive, boat education and leadership. And I guess the focus point for Matakana over the last month or 2 months has been around swim and survive, which is where the portable pool comes in. So the portable pool is obviously has the pure objective is to raise swimmability. We know Māori communities have a connection with Tangaroa, and it's important that they do that safely. So the portable pool provides an opportunity for them to swim and learn swim and survive skills in a controlled environment before taking those skills into the ocean environment, which we've seen today. So we have 2 portable pools, one which rotates through Waikato and Bay of Plenty, and the other one through Hawke's Bay and Gisborne. And it generally stays there between 1 and 2 terms, so kids get the opportunity to swim every day, which is pretty cool.
Who's behind the project? Who's backing it and helping out?
So Active Post are our principal partner in this project, and they're the ones responsible for the portable pools and making sure that they get into communities, which is fantastic. We are very fortunate enough in a couple of opportunities that we've had, for example Matakana, where Fonterra have come on board. They've filled the pool, which has been fantastic. It does take 50,000 litres of water, so in small islands that can drain small communities of water for some time. So we're very fortunate to have Fonterra on this occasion. And we have partners in the project who are responsible for delivery, and some of that delivery is around upskilling and empowering Kaiako to be able to deliver the project. So once the portable pool does move on to a new community, that the Kaiako are able to continue with that teaching and instructing of Swim and Survive.
Obviously we're in summer, and for a lot of New Zealanders that does mean spending more time by the beach and in the ocean. What are some generic water safety tips that you can share with us?
Summer is a very important time for us, and obviously the more people that are engaging and recreating in water also means that there are more at risk at drowning or injury. So we have some key messages that we send out. Those particularly relate to things such as boating, life jackets. When recreating in water and you are on boats, to make sure that you are wearing a life jacket, or at least you've got them on board, and probably more importantly that they fit. So making sure that you have life jackets that fit for everybody that is on board. When you are out and about, make sure you've got two forms of communication. So if you are in trouble, that you need to communicate with someone, you can, and also that you're communicating with people prior to leaving on your day out fishing. And I think when we're talking about young kids, under 5s especially, we're talking about supervision. So they are at risk, and we know what kids are like when they're at the beach. They run around and it's very hard to keep track of them. So it's really important that we're within sight and within reach, so if anything does happen we can act quickly and prevent drowning or any sort of injury around water.
That's the ocean. Another body of water that New Zealanders like to swim in is rivers and lakes. What's the water safety around rivers?
Absolutely, yeah. Rivers in New Zealand are probably our most at-risk environment. We do find that high drowning statistics in rivers are around 30% each year. So it's really important that if you are recreating in water, by all means go and have fun, but it's about being smart, making good decisions, and if you are in doubt around your environment, the weather conditions or the people that you're around, then stay out.
Pacific and Asian communities are highly represented in drowning rates in New Zealand. Why is that?
Yes, we have found Pacific and Asian, well, Pacific for some time have been overrepresented in the drowning statistics, and recently the Asian statistics have started increasing as well. Generally it's around understanding of New Zealand waterways. They aren't used to some of the tidal waterways that we have, and activities in which that they partake in their own countries perhaps aren't as user-friendly or safe in New Zealand. And so it's around making sure that you understand your waterway and you've got the right equipment, and you do the activity safely. And I think that relates more to Pacific than Asian. In Asian it's really around understanding and level of skills and education. So our focus around those two ethnic groups is around education, upskilling, and making them understand as much as possible so that they can also use our beautiful waterways and stay safe.
What are some of the statistics around our ability to swim as New Zealanders?
So New Zealanders, we focus really on primary school students, and we have a benchmark of 200 metres for 12-year-olds, and by the time they reach that, that's our goal, that's our optimum. Currently we're tracking around 30%, and that's probably around 200,000 kids that we've been tracking. So while we've moved from around 11% 2 or 3 years ago, we're still a long way off that 200 metre mark. But to put that into perspective, if I use Matakana as an example, before we came in with the portable pool, we had 25% of the kids at the school that could swim 15 metres. So after a swim a day for 2.5 months, we've got that up to 70%. So while there's a big progression and some really great achievements there, we've got a long way to go.
200 metres, that's the benchmark. Why have you decided on 200 metres?
So 200 metres is the benchmark that we've basically come up with, that we feel that if you are at risk or in trouble, that's the distance that you need to be able to swim to get out of that safely and survive. So that's basically the line in the sand that we've drawn, and that's what we're working towards.
Coming up next, water storage on dairy farms. Welcome back. Dr. Jan Wright has released her submission on the government's proposed National Objectives Framework and amendments to the National Policy Statement for Freshwater Management. She says a framework is needed to protect New Zealand's rivers and lakes, as there is little in the way now of protecting them with the current high conversion of land to dairy farming. I spoke with Stu Wadley from Federated Farmers to see what can be done about irrigation, effluent runoff and water storage. Welcome to the show. Now, many farmers in the Waikato are looking into water storage ponds in the wake of the drought.
Yes, irrigation is in vogue, especially in the South Island and some dry parts of the North Island. When you talk of ponds now, there is regulations set down by the regulatory authorities. So when you do a pond, it's got to be constructed that it's engineered that it won't collapse and then it'll hold water and also hold sediment and all the environmental issues with it. What the problem we do have, of course, is that if we want to do a good sized dam and have a community scheme, then you have to go through the Resource Management Act and be a notified situation. And we have a lot of issues where a lot of people are opposing us damming water, citing environmental issues. I don't decry environmental issues are important, but also we've got to consider the economic values, not only for the farming community, but also for New Zealand, because primary product brings in a lot of much needed cash into New Zealand.
So if a farmer was to have a water storage system on their site, what's the environmental issues that could be brought up there?
The issues are taking away habitat for flora and fauna more than leaching, because when you trap pure fresh water, you have very little concerns with nutrient leaching. All the issues are about flora and fauna. Yes, we must look after them, but I am sure if we could sit down and radically talk out these issues, we can actually have a win-win. But at the moment, most of the issues are flora and fauna. I'll bring in the Ruatanawha situation down the lower northeast of the east coast of
Hawke's Bay.
Hawke's Bay,
yeah.
The Ruatanawha Dam. That would bring in it's been proven to be a very economic situation to do, supported by the regional council. They have to go through a resource consent process. It's being opposed on environmental issues. 95% of that fresh water flows out to sea. And I'm sure if we can sit down, we can have a benefit for that region, for the farmers there, for the community, because when you have a buoyant farming community, you have employment opportunities. So you've got a win-win-win if we could water store. But at the moment, we have a lot of opposition to that.
Well, should then farmers be looking at using more individual storages for themselves, like doing a pond on your own property for yourself?
It all comes down to cost-benefit analysis. If you can get, you're in a locality with about 30, 40 farmers, and we have an ideal location that we can actually trap water to this point that it fills up, then you go back to natural flow. So you've got a stream going through a gully. You trap it, yes, you restrict the flow to fill it up, but once it's filled up, it flows the natural flow. So that can give probably 35, 40 days of a community irrigation scheme, because you're looking at the cost, you're looking at the engineering requirements to build a dam, you're looking at all the costs, and it will not work for individuals. It's got to be community-based.
But dairy farming's already had a massive impact on the purity of our rivers. I mean, is that even more?
Oh, we're down to science now. We know that years ago, late 1980s, we had this buzzword, sustainability. Since the late 1980s, we have improved our water nutrient pollution. I don't deny. We had processing factories processing meat, putting all their blood straight into the streams. We know that. That doesn't happen anymore. Our dairy factories are far better managing their byproducts now. We have one dairy factory in the Waikato that pulls water out of a water source upstream and puts back water of a better quality downstream. So we've got some good stories with our processing facilities. We have some good stories on nutrient leaching since the 1980s, which I don't deny at that point was not good. It is better now. And that's why we do got a lot of support to go further, but we have to consider the nitrogen leaching and the phosphate leaching. There's no two ways about that.
Do you think then that water storage should be enforced on those who are more at risk?
Farmers would love to be enforced to do water storage. That means you have to have statute that will override the Resource Management Act. That will not happen, and I don't want it to happen really, because we need to have a buy-in from all communities, whether it's urban and rural, that will benefit all. We know in our area how much employment opportunities there are from the rural sector, not just on the farm, but the tanker drivers, the processors, the laboratory people. If we can improve our production levels, it will benefit the whole community. But getting back to the point of being sustainable, we have to have buy-in. So I don't think we'll be enforced, but we've got to have a better situation where the economic comes into it, as well as the cultural and the social and the environment.
Is there, do you think there is a possibility of us ever having that balance?
Yes, it's got to go forward. You know, we're 9.5 billion population predicted in 2050. We're just over 7 billion now. If we don't improve our food production ability in New Zealand, history shows you world countries fight over food. So we've got to be far more efficient than we are now. We're looking for our 12-year-olds to be 50% better than we are in production of land. In Japan, it is figured that the small farmers over there, their next generations are going to be 70% more efficient and productive in 2050.
Just ahead, beat those post-holiday blues. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. The post-holiday blues is a real thing, and apparently you should be starting to feel it around about now, a couple of weeks back into it. That is if you are going to suffer from a longing to be back on holiday. I spoke with the Mental Health Foundation to find out some ways to deal with them blues.
So what are the best ways to avoid the post-holiday blues?
Well, we're suggesting that people consider a few things as they head back into work. The first thing is to consider your work environment and consider making that as harmonious as possible. So that may be range from everything from keeping a tidy workspace to maybe having a few holiday snaps, photos of friends, family, and then other things like getting outside during breaks and making the most of this weather we're having, and considering your colleagues, getting off on a good footing with your colleagues, maybe making a pot of tea and, you know, kind of creating that nice harmonious space for you to work in. Then we're also suggesting that people consider their personal growth, you know, thinking about what really interests you and engaging in those. So this time of year people make a lot of resolutions, and to be fair, that's pretty hard to keep those New Year's resolutions. We tend to set really high goals for ourselves, but it is still a good time to consider our interests and maybe looking at doing something new, learning a new skill, for example. And that kind of leads into the third thing, which is about reviewing your job, and just really questioning, is it still satisfying for you? Is it still kind of getting you up and out of bed in the morning? Are you passionate about what you're doing? And maybe you're not. Maybe it's a matter of really asking those hard questions and thinking about where your interests are and your passions are and looking at new opportunities. But at the very least, you can still talk to your manager and can talk about your needs. Good time of year to do that and what you want to achieve in your job at this time of year. And then we are suggesting, I think this is the most important thing actually, is to take some time every day just to relax and let go of work and be with yourself. You know, we get so wrapped up in busyness that we forget to take notice of where we are. So just taking 15 minutes a day, maybe going for a walk, reading, doing some yoga, things like that, just to really let go of everything else and remind yourself that this is essentially about life. It's not all about work. The next thing is about being organised when you're at work. So effective time management is really important for stress management, actually. So breaking your day into chunks, considering what you have to do, and then just attending to that. And then at the end of the day, if you don't get everything done that you wanted to get done, don't worry about it. You know, it's probably not that important. Like, sun's still going to rise tomorrow morning, so don't worry. And that's actually another point, is around remembering to foster a wider perspective on things. So that goes back to that taking 15 minutes, you know, maybe, I mean, it might sound a little bit glib, but one thing I like to do is look at the stars when I can at night and just remind myself of something bigger, and getting out into the natural world, which is really important for mental well-being.
So what are some of the signs that we should be looking for that we are suffering?
If you're finding that you're feeling more sadness than normal, or prolonged periods of sadness, particularly for if you're around about 2 weeks or over 2 weeks, then that's the time really to go visit your GP and get that checked out. So it's sort of those prolonged feelings of sadness, loss of energy, loss of interest in those things that we usually find interesting, changing sleep patterns, changing eating patterns, all of these kind of things that we need to look out for.
Can indulging in more alcohol in the festive season, actually affect our mood?
Absolutely, yeah. Alcohol is a known depressant, so it's changing our mood at the best of times, so to speak. And when we're indulging in more alcohol intake over the festive season, well, yeah, that is going to have an effect.
Can children and youth experience a similar kind of mood when they actually return back to school?
Yes. Like us, they experience a change in routine. Maybe they've gotten out of that pattern they were in, spending a lot of time up in the long evenings and then sleeping in the morning. So there's all of that stuff to contend with. But like adults as well, kids and young people, they experience these things differently, and some children will be looking forward to getting back to school and seeing their friends, so it's not all bad.
Visit the Mental Health Foundation's website for more information. That is Central News today. I hope you have enjoyed your Waitangi Day. I will be back again tomorrow night, so join me then. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.